السلام عليكم دكتور.
سلام علیکم.
Sorry, Doctor, you can start now.
Very good. Very good. Okay, I'm going to start.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay, very good. Let me start.
It's clear دكتور.
Okay, very good. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my lecture. It is my pleasure. It is a pleasure to be united with you one another time. The title of my presentation is The Government Intervention in Economic Systems. For the groups of attendees who were not in my previous presentation, I should introduce myself. I am Seyed Malek Sadati, the Assistant Professor of Economics at Ferdowsi University of Mashhad. Today, I'm going to cover three important topics for you. The first one is the laissez-faire, philosophical and maybe a very important concept in economic. The other part that is the core of my presentation is the government functions under laissez-faire in economy. And finally, we will discuss about other argument on behalf of government intervention in economic. Let's start with the first one, but before that, I will ask you to feel free. Whenever you have a question, you can switch your cameras on, you can switch your microphone on and ask your question. In this way, we will have a more interactive meeting, we will have more interactive conversation, and we will enjoy being in this presentation, in this lecture. So let me start with the first one, the laissez-faire. My first part of This presentation is laissez-faire. To start with this topic, it is very important to pay attention to the very important statement of Thomas Jefferson. Maybe you know Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was the third United States president. He asserted that the government is best that governs least. It means that the good government is the best government is the government who have the least intervention in economy. Sometimes economists, especially economists in the 18th century, addressed this kinds of government as a night mode state. Night mode state. But what is night mode state? Let me check you and check you if you see me and my present. Okay, you can see it. Okay, let's continue. The night mode state is the kinds of state that is in charge of providing security, just providing security and nothing else. These kinds of government don't intervene in economy, don't regulate the price of goods and services, don't provide any kinds of services and so on. Actually, these kinds of governments that economists in the 18th century usually addressed has roots in the philosophy of physiocracy. Physiocracy is the philosophy of a group of French Enlightenment thinker that usually they entitled physiocrats. Physiocrats believe in the physical order of nature. They believe that the physical order of nature is very good, it works very well without any need to intervention. This order is harmonious. As an example, the leader of these groups of philosopher, who was Francois Cuisny, usually addressed the blood circulation in body's arteries. He told that blood circulation works very well in human's body without any need to intervention. And we can find other kinds of other kinds of order in other phenomena in the world. For example, the circulation of water in rivers, seas, lakes, and so on, the circulation of air and other things. So if the nature can work with these harmonious rules, with this physical order, why should we intervene in economy? Economy is part of this world. Economy is a part of our nature, and we don't need to intervene in economy. The government should just sit and look at the economy. The government shouldn't intervene in economy. And people are free from any kinds of economic intervention by government. They are free to interact with each other. They are free to sell their product. They are free to buy something, to engage in markets and so on. Individuals, actually the physiocracy established the concept of individualism. It means that individuals as a part of nature, as a unit of analyzing, as a part of society, has a natural right to be free, has a natural right of freedom. This is the basic concept of laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is the core of economic liberalism. In economic liberalism, we have the minimum responsibility of government. But at the moment, in the current century, the concept of laissez-faire is changed a bit. And at the moment, the laissez-faire doesn't mean no government, doesn't mean the absence of government. The government should intervene in the economy more than 18th century. And today, in the current century, economists usually believe in government intervention in some particular role, in some particular function that are market failures. Market failures usually focus on the situation in which the markets cannot reach efficiency, cannot work well, cannot satisfy what we usually want the market to do. So in this situation, the government is allowed to intervene in the economic activities. In this slide, you can see seven important functions of the government that we let the government to engage in these activities, in this function, and try to improve the performance of markets. I will cover all of them, but you may find other functions in other texts, in other books. But the main or the core concept of market failure usually include these seven important functions. Let me start with the first one. The first function of the government in economy is providing the rules. But what is the rules? In economy, all the economic agent requires rules because they need to make future for themselves predictable, because they want to have a clear future, because they want to plan their future for themselves. All the buyers, sellers, traders, providers, manufacturers need rules. Without the rules, they don't have predict future, and they will encounter with the ambiguous future. Let's make an example. So we should concentrate on this topic. Who sets the rules? In this society, the government sets the rules. Let me make an example. Look at this picture. This is a game. You know what game it is. It is a football match. I want to ask you a question. Let me see you and ask a question. Okay, what kinds of a game is it? It is a football. But my important question is that what does shape this game as a football? What element, what factor shape this game as a football? One of the attendee raise his hand. Okay, please answer me. Who wants to participate? Okay.
Can I speak in Arabic?
I can't, but I think I can realize your meaning.
Okay. Yeah, I can. It is because the players stand beside the goal station.
Okay, I got your meaning. You told that the players shape this game as a football. Any other idea?
It's offside game.
Okay, this is a picture about the offside, but I didn't mean offside. I just look at this game generally as a football. Your answer is a bit is okay, it's correct, but I should to elaborate more. You may answer that the players shape this game as a football. Others may think that the referees may shape this game as a football. Or maybe you think that the coach shapes this game as a football, or field and other elements in the football. I should say that all of them is true, but none of them is the major principal elements. The principal elements that shape this game as a football is the rules of the game. Rules of the game. Rules like offside, corner, hand, out, and other rules. These rules that were set by FIFA shape this game as a football. Let me think about football in the other way. For a while, just for a while, Imagine that I am allowed to change one special rules in this game. For example, imagine that I'm allowed, imagine that the players are allowed to keep ball with their hands. What other kinds of game will football transform, will football become, if the players are allowed to keep ball with their hands? Maybe something like handball or other games. So the rules of the game shape this game as a football. And by changing the rules of the game, this game will change. Economy is like this game. Economy and other parts of society, our social relations are like a game. And the rules of game usually dominant on our behavior. All of us usually obey the rules and behave under these rules. So if I ask you, why do rules matter? Why rules matter? Why do rules matter? Maybe the answer is that because the rules shape our behavior, like footballers, like football players. By changing the rules, our behavior will change, because all the economic agent, as a consumer, as a producer, as a manufacturer, as all the economic players, responds to their incentives, and rules can change our incentives, because the rules can change our costs and our benefits. So we will change our behavior. The government is in charge of providing the rules. No other one is in charge of this important responsibility. As an example, the property right is a very basic rule in each society, in each economy, that government in charge of providing that. What is the property right? Property is the things that you are its owner. For example, your car. Your car is your property. Your apartment is your property. Your house is your property. And by owning your property, you have some kinds of rights. Let me make an example again. For example, imagine that you have an apartment. Which kinds of right do you have? The government usually set these rights. Property right need to be clearly specified. The government should clearly specify your right. Do you have the right to sell your apartment? I think that you have this right. Do you have the right to give your apartment to me as a gift? I think you have this right as an owner of this apartment. Do you have the right to leave your apartment as a bequest for your children? Maybe you have. Do you have to destroy your apartment? Imagine that you live in the second layer of a multi-layer apartment. Do you have the right to destroy your apartment? What will happen for your neighbors, for your upstairs apartment or downstairs apartment? Do you have the right to make lots of noise in the middle of night? The government should specify your rights. Which rights do you have and which kinds of rights you don't have? It is the responsibility of government. The other things that usually included in the property right is that the property right should be exclusive. It means that all the cost and all the benefit regarding your property should be included in your property. By using your property, you usually gain private benefit. For example, imagine that you have a car. By driving, you enjoy driving, you reach your office at minimum time. You enjoy, you gain benefit, and you should pay its cost. For example, you should buy gasoline for your car. But you usually produce some social benefit and some social cost by your property. For example, in the case of driving an automobile, you produce air pollutant, and all the social, and it is the social cost, all the cost, all the social cost, the social benefits of your property should be included in your property. It means that the property right should be exclusive. The government should specify your rights. The other aspects of property means is that transferability. You should transfer your property to other one. You should sell it to me, or you should buy another property. You can buy another property. And finally, enforceability. The government should enforce your property right. Imagine that someone may damage your car. Imagine that luckily your car is stolen. Who should find your car? How can you be compensated? The government should enforce your property. Property right is the basic core and is a principal rule that the government is in charge of providing that in economy. And by specifying the property right, all the economic agents as players in a game can play with each other effortlessly, can play with each other with low cost. But there is an important thing about rules. All the rules usually have its own limitation, and at the same time it has advantage. Usually rules in a society limit us. For example, as a driver, a traffic light limit us because we cannot cross the junction when the traffic light is red. It limits us. It's disadvantage. This limitation, but it give us an advantage. We can get an advantage of this rule. What is its advantage? Can you answer me? What is the advantage of rules? Let me look at you and find someone who answer me. What is the advantage of rules? What is the advantage of traffic lights? Okay, Mr. Haydar Mohammed. Okay, please answer me. Thank you for your participation.
Yes. It can limit our behavior or shape our behavior.
Yes. And this is its limitation. But what is its benefits for us? What is its advantage for us?
We can say to move us on the right side.
Very good answer. It gives us the chance to cross the junction safe when the traffic light is green. We can predict the behavior of other drivers. We can predict the behavior of other person, pedestrian who is walking on the junction. Traffic light has limitation and also has advantage. We accept all the rules, we obey all the rules because all the rules give us advantage. It is advantageous for people. Let me go on and talk about the other function of the government. The second function of government in economy is promoting competition. Competition. All of us have the experience of buying something, for example, buying a thing, a goods, a product, much more expensive than usual. You may, like me, you may have this experience. What consumer usually do when they encounter with a expensive product? When we go to a shop and the salespersons sell something more expensive than usual. A natural behavior of us in this situation usually is that we can refuse buying these goods and product and go to other shop that has products with less expensive price. It is a very normal behavior, and all the consumer usually should do this to punish the salesperson who sells something expensive. But it is impossible all the time, because sometimes the producer have the market power. Sometimes the producer have the ability to coordinate with each other. They have the ability to participate in a collusion and keep the price high, rise the price. And with their decision, make some kinds of loss for consumers. This is the market power. For example, in this picture, you can see the company A, company B, and company C that coordinate with each other. They decided to keep the price right instead of battling with each other, instead of battling for market share. As Adam Smith, as a father of economics, as a very famous economist, told in the 18th century, people of the same trade, actually in this case, the manufacturers, seldom meet together, even for merriment and diversion. But the conversation of them ends in a conspiracy against the public, or in some diversion to rise prices. Usually companies try to rise the price for consumer, and this is a very this is a misfunction of the market. In the market, if the producer, if the provider of goods and services have the market power, they will increase the price, and in this situation, the consumer, the welfare of consumer will decrease. So the government should play a very crucial role in this situation. The government should promote competition, or at least maintain the competition through antitrust laws, through antitrust institutions. We have many antitrust institutions in different countries. For example, in United States, the Sherman Law in 1890 was enacted, and with this law, the government have the right to intervene in economy when the government realize a collusion between companies. In Iran, we have something like antitrust institution. We entitle this institution Shorای Raqabat, or maybe competition council, who is in charge of detecting any kinds of collusion between companies and try to promote competition. But we have the other function for the government. The third function of government is providing information. You may have the other experience about lack of information when you want to buy something. For example, imagine that you want to buy a cell phone. Do you have any information about this product? Do you have any experience of buying toys and stuff like for example, cell phone, like laptop, other things? Whenever you want to buy something, your problem is getting information. Your problem is collecting information. And information is an asset, because if you have accurate information, you will buy a very high quality product. If not, you will lose. you will lose your money, and you may buy a low quality product. All of us have the experience like this. Information is an asset, and gathering information is costly. Today, economists, all the economists at the moment believe in imperfect information. But what is the meaning of imperfect information? By imperfect information, we mean the situation that consumers information about the quality of goods, about the price of goods, is not perfect. The consumer don't have enough or sufficient information about what they want to deliver. And in this situation, usually a very inefficient outcome will happen. Economists usually entitle this phenomenon as an adverse selection. Adverse selection. What is adverse selection? Imagine that you go to the market and you want to buy something, and it is impossible for you to distinguish high quality product from low quality product. For example, imagine you want to buy a used car, not a new car, a used car. It is impossible for unprofessional driver to distinguish high quality used car. And in this situation, you may buy low quality used car. What is usually famous as a lemon in United States? When you buy a low quality used car, they said you have bought a lemon. And if you find a very good high quality used car, they tell that you have bought a peach. Imagine that you want to buy a used car and you don't have enough information about the quality and price of used car. In this situation, you may buy a low quality used car, but you may, what is very actually miserable in this situation is that you may buy a low quality used car and pay the price of high quality to the seller. In this situation, you actually lose two things: your money, and at the same time you gain a very low quality used car, and you should pay more and more in future for repairing it. In this case, we can say that market encounter with adverse selection because market rewards the bad quality products, the sellers of bad quality or low quality products, and penalize the sellers of high quality products because it is impossible to distinguish between them. And the role of government in this situation is to intervene in markets, is to intervene and set some kinds of standards, license, and other things to screen. A screen means distinguishing bad from good. And standards, license, and other things like this usually are screening mechanisms, screening tools. For example, imagine that you want to buy food product. How can you realize its quality? How can you realize about its materials, its containers? Is the food product that you want to buy healthy? The government should intervene in this situation. For example, in Iran we have a standard label like this. This is the certificate of the healthiness of foods. We say Sibe Salamat, or maybe something like Health Apple. If a food product have this label, consumer can be sure that this is healthy. In other countries, we have some labels like this. For example, in India, we have this label that guarantee that this product is healthy. Do you have any idea about these functions of government? Have you ever been encountered with this situation of imperfect information about what you want to deliver? Do you have any idea? You can speak in Arabic if possible for you. I try to realize what you say. Or if possible, you can ask your question in Persian. I will answer you in English. Okay, no idea or question. Let me go on to the more interesting part of my presentation. Yes, I can guess that the next part is more interesting for you. Okay. The other task of government in economics is providing public goods. All of you know about public goods. All of you. I guess so. The concept of public good isn't complicated at all, but sometimes students may make mistake about it. So let me elaborate more with details about it. All the goods and products can be categorized in 4 groups. But how? If you concentrate on 2 elements of goods, we can have this categorization. The first one is excludability. Excludability of goods and product means that the provider of a product is able to exclude a group of persons who prefer not to pay for that product from a group of people who pay. For example, imagine that I want to have a bottle of water and I don't want to pay. So the provider of this bottle of water can exclude me, and he or she can deliver, can provide this product to a person who pay. So products can be excludable and non-excludable. If it is possible for a provider of goods and services to exclude a group of persons who prefer not to pay from a group of persons who pay for that product, this product is excludable. But unfortunately, we have some kinds of goods and services that aren't excludable. And I will mention them in the next part. The other elements or factors of the goods are rivalrous. Rivalrous is the characteristics that usually look at the goods from the viewpoint of consumer, not provider. Goods and products can be rival or non-rival. The rival products are groups of products that consumer compete with each other in receiving them. Consumer compete with each other. For example, they can stand in line sooner than others. They can pay more money to achieve these goods and to deliver these goods and services. These kinds of goods and services are rival. But non-rival goods and services are a group of goods and services that it doesn't need to, they don't need to any kinds of competition. With these 2 factors, we have 4 groups of goods and products. The first group is private goods. Let me make an example. Imagine that you want to buy a pair of shoes. You will go to a shoe shop, and in the shoe shop, you can distinguish that the provider, the seller, have, for example, 10 pairs of shoes. If you buy 1 pair of shoes, how many pairs of shoes will remain for the seller? How many? Especially 9. Yeah,
9.
9. 9. Yes. Okay. Because the seller, uh, because the seller give one pair of shoes to you, and if another consumer buy another pair of shoes, how many other pairs of shoes will remain? Especially 8. Yeah. So by buying this product, the amount of product will decrease. It means that the consumer will battle with each other, will compete with each other. Imagine that there is only one pair of shoes in that shoe shop, and there are two consumers, and you are the seller. To which of them do you want to give this pair of shoe? To which one? For example, imagine that there is a consumer A and consumer B. Both of them wants this only pair of shoes, and you have only one pair of shoes. To which one you will?
Who come to the shop? To the
Huh?
first one come to the shop.
Very good, very good, excellent. To the person who comes sooner.
Yes.
Or maybe you may negotiate with them and give this pair of shoes to the person who will pay more money. Maybe.
Yes.
In this case,
I will at this one.
very good, very good. In this case, this is a competition between consumers. Shoes are excludable because you can exclude a person. Do you give your shoes to the person who don't want to pay any money?
Of course not.
Of course not, because this goods is excludable. And as I mentioned for you, it is a rival. But let's go to the second group, club goods. Club goods. Maybe a very classic example of club goods is gym. You may go to gym. You may go a member of gym club. Gym club is a product, is a service. If you are a member of gym club, you should pay. You actually paid for this and enter to this club. So maybe the owner of this club can exclude consumers who pay from consumers who not to pay. So it is excludable again, but it is not rival. Because if I use, for example, this machine for fitness, for bodybuilding, and so on, and leave this machine and go to other machine, you can use it again. The amount of this service won't decrease. If I use it, you can use it again. All of us can use it. So this product aren't rival. The service is non-rival. The internet that you receive, the Wi-Fi that you receive from the operator who provide it, the cable TV, the Wi-Fi, and other kinds of the SIM card of your mobile set. All of them are club goods. You are a member of a club. You should be a member of a club to use these kinds of goods and products. And if you don't pay to be a member of this club, it is impossible for you to use that product and service. Can you make an example for me about club goods? Are you a member of the other club goods? Let me see you and ask you. Can you make another example? Are you a member of other club goods? Think about it. For example, you can use a cell phone, a SIM card of my cell phone, a Wi-Fi that we use our club goods. We pay to the operator when we use. If I use the waves of Wi-Fi, you can use at the same time, and the amount of these waves won't decrease. The traffic may be high, but it won't decrease. Okay, let me
Doctor,
go.
say about
Okay,
net service. You can pay to the internet and get the internet service.
very good. It is a very good, excellent example for this, for these kinds of goods. Okay, the third group of goods are commons. But what is commons? Commons are common goods, or goods that are commons. If I use an Arabic word, in Iran we say musha', because a group of persons have the ownership of this product. It doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to all the persons. For example, natural resources, jungles, deserts, seas, rivers, lakes, all of them are commons. In general, natural resources, environments. Let's make an example of fishery. Imagine that a group of fishermen, they want to fishing in the seas. They want to make money from fishing. All of them will fight with each other to fish as much as possible. They want to earn as much as possible. For example, imagine that I am one of these fishermen. I can think about environment. I can think about producing. I can think about fishing in a environmental friendly way. But in this situation, if I want to stop fishing, I will think about other fishermen. I wonder, if I stop fishing, the other fishermen will continue fishing, and they can earn more money, but I cannot. So the rational decision for me is to continue fishing. Another person will decide like me, and they will fish as much as possible. And after a while, it isn't difficult to be that the amount of fish in the seas will disappear or deteriorate. We will encounter with the deterioration of fish stock in the seas. All of us will ruin this natural resource together. All of us. Because all of us just think about our personal interest. It is a very classic example of what economists usually say, prisoner dilemma. Prisoner dilemma is a game, is a very famous game in game theory, when all the agents just think about their self-interest, not pay attention to the social interest. And in this situation, the society will lose welfare, will lose their welfare because of this competitive behavior. So commons are rival because an agent usually compete with each other, but it is not excludable. No one can exclude this fisherman from fishing. All of them have the right to continue fishing. Finally, we have the other groups of goods, that is public good. To elaborate about public good, I had to explain about 3 other groups. It helped us to distinguish between these 4 groups. Public goods are a group of goods that are non-rival and at the same time non-excludable. For example, imagine the light of a street light at the night. At the night, you can walk on the street under the light. Who provide this light? Is it possible for private sector to provide this service? As a private sector, do you agree to provide traffic light, the street light? Do you agree to provide the light of a street at night as a private sector? I ask you, who wants to answer me? As a private sector, I don't want to provide a street light, because if I provide this service, no one can pay me. No one wants to pay me. No one wants to pay me. I cannot exclude persons. It is impossible to set a gate in front of the street and exclude persons. A group who pay for a street light from a group who prefer not to pay. It is impossible. If I provide this service, all the person will use it. It is non-excludable. And at the same time, it isn't rival goods, because using a street light won't decrease the amount of light on the street for other consumers. These kinds of goods are public goods, and the government is in charge of providing them, because if government don't provide them, no one provide them, no private sector will provide them. Okay. I explain for you 4 examples of goods. Let me ask you about a group of product. I mentioned, for example, a product, and I ask you to think about it and answer me. That product belongs to each group. For example, please think about firefighting, the service that usually provide to extinguish the fire. Firefighting. Is firefighting private? Is firefighting public? Is it a club goods? Is it a public goods? Okay, please answer me, Mr. Haydar.
Yes, doctor. I think it is from the public goods.
Yes, it is public goods. Absolutely. It is public goods, because it is impossible for a private firefighting station to probable private firefighting station to exclude persons. Imagine that there is a house that is burning in fire, and a group of firefighter is going to reach that home and ask about the price of this service. It is impossible. It isn't fair, because they are burning in fire. Firefighting service is a public service, is a public good. But what do you think about actually about camping in jungles? You may go to jungles for picnic for camping. What do you think about camping in fire? Is it a public goods, a club goods, a private goods? Which kinds of goods it is? Camping, going to jungle,
Private goods?
private goods or commons. If we go to jungle and set up a camp and live there for one night and use the good weather of jungle and make the jungle dirty, throw away our garbage, throw away our bottles of water, This is kinds of jungle is a common goods, and using jungles in this way is similar to fishing from seas, overconsumption of seas. Okay, let me go on to the next part. Okay, we mentioned for you 4 groups of goods, but I want to talk about one important goods, which is merit goods. Merit goods. This is a picture of public school, and this is a picture of public hospital. Think about public schools and public hospital. There is an important question here. Is a school and hospital public good or private good?
Yes, doctor, it's public good.
Yes, it's public goods. But we can see in my city some kinds of private hospital and some kinds of private school. You may see in your country something like this. We have both types of school, public schools and private schools at the same time. We have both types of hospitals. It is possible for private sector to provide this service. It is possible for private sector to exclude persons and just let the rich persons to enter private hospital. Just let the rich families to send their children to private schools. So I can say that school and hospital aren't, schools and hospitals aren't public goods. They aren't public goods. They can be private. But it is not fair to having just private hospitals, just private schools. It is not fair. There is a very narrow difference between merit and public goods. Merit goods are a group of goods that can be provided by private sectors. But public goods cannot be provided by private sectors because private sectors cannot be financed, cannot get money, cannot exclude consumers. But in schools and hospitals, we can exclude consumers. But the government usually provide public hospitals and public schools, while it is possible for private sector to provide them. Government provide them because government wants to enhance meritocracy. Meritocracy. It is a very important concept here. Please pay attention to it. Imagine that in our city, there is only private school, only private sector. Is it fair? Is it consistent with justice? How about poor family? Where should they send their children? If they become ill, where should they go? If there is only a private hospital, how about poor families? Where should they go if they become ill? It is not fair. Schools and hospitals are merit goods. They can provide both with private and public sectors. The private sectors can provide them and give money and get money from the consumers of them. Consumers of health service, consumer of education systems, educational services. But at the same time, the government should provide them for poor families, for poor class of society, not just for poor, for all parts of society. But especially the government targeted the poor families. Imagine that there is a talented, smart children in a poor family who have a brilliant future, who can become a president in future. If there is, if there isn't any public school that children, that girl or boy is not able to be educated, is not be able to promote, to be promoted, it's not be able to improve their abilities. So the government should provide merit goods. Merit goods aren't public goods. There is a narrow difference between them. Okay, let me look at you and ask you about another question about merit goods. Can you mention for me another case of merit good? I don't have any other case in mind. Let me think at the same time. And I ask you to think and mention an example for merit good. We mentioned school and hospital. And we need another example.
We can say about the water resources to provide to the houses or to the places the people living.
Yes, public houses. It's a good example. Public
No,
houses.
I mean the water resource for the drink or for the wash.
Oh, okay. Water resource. Sorry, I heard it mistakenly. You told water resource. Okay. You told that the government should provide a minimum amount of water for drinking to all families.
Yes, sir.
Not for washing cars, for washing
For drink
for drink and for washing and caring about health and yes, it can help poor families to deliver water for their basic needs. Okay, it's a very good example. Thank you, Mr. Haider.
Thank you too, sir.
Okay, you can make another example in Arabic. I want other attendees.
Electricity maybe. يعني الكهرباء.
Yes, Haider can translate it in Persian or in English for me.
Electricity.
Electricity. Okay, electricity. Electricity is an example that. Okay, electricity. Electricity is another case.
Yes.
Let me elaborate more for you. We categorize services like electricity, like natural gas that you use in your home to cook, for cooking or for warming yourself. Electricity, natural gas, or actually the water service, the water that you deliver from your pipeline in your home, or utilities. We say all of these services utilities. Utilities are a case of natural monopoly. I don't cover it in this presentation, but I can elaborate it for you by detail for a very small time. Natural monopoly are a case of monopoly, but there is a very important difference between natural monopoly and other kinds of monopoly that I mentioned before. For example, airlines have in the airline industry we have monopoly. For example, four producer battle with each other, or sometimes they participate in a collusion to keep the price high. Okay, but in utilities, the government actually decide to let the right of producing or providing this service just to one provider. The government actually give the monopolistic right to one producer, because these kinds of industries have a large amount of fixed cost. And if there are several producers, they deliver this product, this service to consumers with high price. By having one producer, the price of these kinds of products will decrease because of economies of scales. In this case, government should decide to produce these goods by its own as a public service, or let the private sector to provide these goods and regulate this private sector. For example, in my country, the government actually let the private sector to deliver this service, water, electricity, and other utilities to consumers, but the government regulate the price, set the price for them. But in other countries, it may be under the control of government. So electricity, water resource that we use in our home via pipeline, through pipeline, and natural gas and other utilities are case of natural monopoly. I don't cover them in my slides, but I can explain it for you if you have another question at the end of this presentation. Thank you, Haida, for your participation in this debate. Very good. Let me go on. Let me go on and talk about the other task of government, externalities. Externalities. Okay. When I talked about the property right, I told you about the exclusive characteristics of property right or properties. There is a difference between private and social cost. By consuming or producing, we can produce private cost and also social cost. Imagine this factory. This factory produces goods that is beneficial for society, but this factory at the same time produces air pollutant gases. So we have encountered with two products, a pleasant product and unpleasant product. It is impossible for us to fire this factory, to close this factory, because it produces something that is beneficial for our society. Maybe it produces a tire for our automobile, but it produces air pollutant at the same time. How should we do with this factory? This factory have its own cost, the cost of their labors, the cost of electricity, the cost of raw materials, and so on. And all of them are private costs. But this factory impose social cost to the society, that is air pollutant. And the government should pay for a health system to heal the disease and illness that has roots in these air pollutants gases. So this factory have private and social cost. As another example, we have other activities that have private and social benefits. For example, imagine gardening. By gardening, we produce private benefits and at the same time social benefits. We can produce foods and other agricultural products and sell them and earn money. And we help the natural resource, we help the government to have the fresh air. So this activity have private and at the same time social benefits. What is very important for a society is the ability of government to intervene in this situation and try to internalize the social cost and social benefits of activities. What's the meaning of internalization of externality? By setting tax on this factory, the government should get tax from this factory and allocate this amount of money to the health system to decrease the side effect, the bad side effect of this production. And at the same time, the government can spend the resources that collected by tax to activities like gardening. So one of the function of government is engaging in externality and internalization of externality. Finally, the final task or function of government is redistribution of income. In the previous presentation, I told you about the role of market as a distributive mechanism. Market distribute money because in market you can actually you can go to market as a labor and at the same time an employer can hire you for his or her factory. You can work there and you can earn money, and you can spend your money in market for buying something. Market can allocate all the resource and income. So the market is the distribution or distributive mechanism. But the distribution of income in market usually isn't fair, because sometimes there are a group of persons, there are a group of people that cannot earn enough money in market. They cannot afford their living expenditure. They cannot afford the expenditure of their home, of their food, and so on. In this case, the government is in charge of redistribute income. By redistribution, the government can enhance the poor people to improve their well-being, improve their living standard. And the mechanism that the government have to do this function is to actually get tax from rich persons and allocate them between poor persons via subsidies, through subsidies. But there are two important arguments on behalf of income redistribution. Especially in the societies, sometimes the rich persons are usually aren't proponent of redistribution. They disagree with the redistribution. But there are two important arguments on behalf of income redistribution. The first argument is the Rawlsian argument. You may know Rawls. Rawls is a very famous philosopher who is the proponent of justice, who think about justice. He's the very famous philosopher. But what is the argument of Rawls? Please pay attention to this argument. It is a very good argument. Imagine that you want to enter the world. Imagine that you aren't born and you want to enter into the world. Okay? As a baby, you want to enter into the world. And at the entrance of the world, someone is standing and asks you a very important question. That person asks you, there are two words, word number one and word number two, and you have the option to choose between them. But there is a difference between these two words. The first word is the word that all the person in this world is equal. All of them are equal with each other. All of them have the same amount of money, have the same amount of facility. All of them are equal. And you have the chance to enter to this world. And at the same time, you have another chance. You have another option. You have the option to enter to the other world. In the other world, people are unequal. Some of them are poor and some of them are rich. You can choose between them, but it has a condition. If you want to go into the second world, unequal world, no one can guarantee that you will be a rich person. No one can guarantee. You may be a poor, and you may be a rich person. So, at the entrance of these two worlds, you as a person should choose between them. And you are under the veil of ignorance or ignorance. You are ignorant. You are under the veil of ignorance. You don't know. If you go to the second world, what will happen for you? Rawls stated that in this situation, all the person choose the first word, not the second word. It is the argument on Rawls. So Rawls asserted that all the persons are the proponent of justice, are the proponent of equality. It is an argument on behalf of equality, and this equality usually will happen by redistribution of income. But there is another argument that usually is stated by utilitarian like Jeremy Bentham and other utilitarian who taught in 18th century about redistribution of income. What they think about redistribution, what is their argument? They told that, imagine that in a country, there are different groups, groups of rich person who are very narrow and a broad group of poor person. Imagine that, for example, I am a billionaire and I earn, for example, $4 billion a year. What will happen if the government just get a tax for amount of $5 million from me and allocate it between poor people? Utilitarian usually asserted, okay, Mr. Haidar, answer me. You raise your hand. Okay.
Yes, doctor. The government can raise the tax on you.
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
All of you are familiar with the concept of utility. All of us, as a consumer, get utility from consuming goods and services. Okay? And all of you are familiar with the marginal utility. The marginal utility of those amount of money that I give the government as a tax will less than the marginal utility of poor persons who earn from subsidies. So the total utility of society will increase by this redistribution. This is the argument of utilitarian. Okay. This was the seventh function of government in economy. I mentioned for you 7 functions of government. We can review them. The first one is providing the rules. The second was promoting competition. The other one is providing information. The first one was providing public goods. Other one was providing merit goods, engaging in externalities and internalization of externalities is the other task of government, and finally redistribution of income. All of them, all the functions of government under laissez-faire. It means that even in the laissez-faire economy, even in the economy that rely on market, on free market, the government should make role regarding these important functions. We can finish here, and we have another option to continue on the last slide. But in this last slide, I want to explain about different argument on behalf of government intervention, and these aren't market failures. These are different statements that, especially in the 20th century, societies experienced actually have experienced uh, as a logic for government intervention. It depends on you. If you want to listen about them, I will continue. If not, we can finish here and have a debate about what I explained for you. It depends on you. It is your class, it is your time, and we can conversate about them. Okay. I can ask you, and it is possible for you to answer me by sending a message in chat box. If you don't want to answer me with microphone. For example, I can ask you about a group of goods, and you can distinguish between them and tell me about them if they are public goods, private goods, merit goods, and other types of goods. Let me make an example. What do you think about children? What do you think about kindergarten? Is kindergarten a public good or private good? Please answer me in chat box. Where is the chat box? Let me show chat box. Okay, this is chat box. You can answer me by sending a text. It is possible for you. How do you feel about kindergarten, a place that kids usually go and be educated? Okay. Let me ask another question, and you can think about the first one at the same time. How do you think about mm, yeah, how do you think about cable TV? Do you have TV in your home? Do you use the cable TV? Do you pay any money for watching TV? I don't know about your country. In my country, it is public, but
No.
I don't know about your country. Do you pay any money for it, Mr.
Uh,
Haydar?
yes, doctor. There is no cable TV in our country, but there is
Oh,
a private broadcast on the internet through the TV.
oh, do you pay any money for it?
Yes, of course, by paying to the internet service.
Okay. So if you have cable TV in your country, it is a very classic example of which groups of goods?
It is, of course, private goods.
Not private goods. Because you pay.
Okay.
and because you pay. If you pay for this product will be private or club goods.
Uh,
But
okay.
the difference between these two groups of goods are the rivals of them. Do you compete with other persons who watch TV or not?
Come again. Excuse me.
Okay. When you want to watch TV, when you want to pay money for cable TV
Yes.
or for other kinds of broadcast TV, do you compete with other consumer? There is no competition between you and other consumers. There is no competition among consumers.
Yes.
So the cable TV is a classic example of club goods. You are a
Correct.
member of
Yes.
a
Yes.
club of persons who watch TV via this broadcast, via this mechanism.
Okay.
Very good, Hader. Very good.
Okay.
Uh, okay. I want the other persons, the other attendees, to participate in debate. Uh, okay. Let me ask Hassan Sami. I think I met you before. Have you met before in Ferdowsi University of Mashhad, Hassan? Mr. Hassan Sami, are you here? Can you hear me? Oh, okay. I think that Hassan cannot hear me. Okay, let me go on and finish my. Actually, I don't have enough time. It is near the 2 p.m. So let me finish my presentation here and tell you about my next presentation. In the next Monday, I will have another presentation about the misfunction of government in economy. In this presentation, I told you about the task of government, the cases that we usually let the government to intervene in market, to intervene in economy, to make the markets work uh, more efficiently. But this intervention have its bad consequences. This intervention sometimes have some misfunctions. So in the next presentation, I will cover the critic about government intervention. I will cover them. I will discuss about the inefficiencies of government in intervention in markets and economies. I will invite you. I invite you to participate in the next presentation, if it is possible for you, and I hope I can see you again in the other presentation. In my first slide, I will mention my. Sorry, in my you can see here my email address. If you have any question in future, you can ask me via this email address, and I will be appreciate if I received any email from you, and I will ask your question. I have no other things to say, and if you have any question, I will be here to answer you. If not, we can
Thank you,
finish
Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
our
Your
conversation.
presentation was very good and helpful. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Majed. I'm speaking with Dr. Majed.
No, no, I'm Anwar. I'm Anwar.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will see you in the next presentation. Thank you very much. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you very much, doctor.
You too. Thank you, Doctor. Very nice. العفو. طلابنا اساتذتنا نزلت لكم رابط بالشات اللي يحب يسجل حضور قبل لا تطلعون. نشكر حضوركم واستماعكم، ان شاء الله استفاديتوا من المحاضره. شاكر حضوركم، شكرا.
العفو دكتور، نسجل بالعربي عادي ماكو مشكله؟
لا انا العفو دزيت رابط على الشات تقدرون تشوفونه، لان هي استماره على الفورمه.
نعم، بس انا كتبته بالعربي الاسم، ماكو مشكله.
لا انا داز رابط مجرد تنقرون عليه. اعتقد انتم من النقال اكو بصف المايك 3 نقاط تقدرون تدوسون عليها وتشوفون الرابط ما تجي تنقرون عليه ويوديكم للفورم.
شكرا دكتور.
شكرا.